Lieutenant Governor, I guess first off, before we get into some specific budget things, I was struck by the last book that you read here, Oh, the Places You'll Go, and the challenges and the lessons that not every kid picked up on there. But are there some parallels there with the state budget in regards to not everything's going to go your way? Did you pick up on that yourself?
There are a lot of parallels. There are a lot of parallels in other places you will go in my personal life and in political life, and especially with the budget. We are trying to take the state in a lot of places. We want to go very far, and we want to be really bold, and we are going to face challenges. So yeah, there are certainly parallels and certainly lessons to be learned about how do we work through that. How do we face those challenges and make sure that we don't get stuck. We aren't sitting around waiting. That was in the middle of the book. It talked about sitting around waiting. How that's just no way to go. We want to make sure that we're moving forward.
There's a phrase that's been tossed out there by Republicans this week: "dead on arrival" with the governor's budget plans. Is that frustrating? Is it surprising at all that you say that?
To say that the budget is dead on arrival is more than frustrating. Is irresponsible. This is the will of the people. We actually got our suggestions from doing listening sessions. It wasn't, some small room with a handful of people who wanted to decide what was best for the state. This is actual input from taxpayers, from people who go to school, people who are, who use public transportation, people, a wide range of people, business leaders as well, students, people who have dealt with really extreme medical issues that could really benefit from expanding Medicaid in the state of Wisconsin. So again, like I said, it's beyond frustrating. That's one word, but I choose to use the word irresponsible because that's what it is.
I don't want to dominate this. I'll make this my last question, but can I ask you about broadband? One of those hopefully bipartisan issues that everybody can get behind. Pretty ambitious goal by 2025 to have internet in every home, every business. How do you make sure that some of that money, the $75 million that you want to see spent going into grants, that it doesn't all end up in southern part of the state? For us here in the northern part of it, that smaller communities get some of that money. Is that something the state can help facilitate, or is it all?
Absolutely, and it is a very ambitious goal, and it's the type of ambitious goal that we should be setting for the state of Wisconsin. I think that a lack of that sort of ambitious thinking has us where we are now, where so many families, so many communities deal with a lack of broadband access. So there are some really high need areas that are not in southern Wisconsin, that are in northern Wisconsin, where the issue of connectivity exists and where people aren't able to start businesses. It's hindered people economically and also education, where students aren't always able to do their homework at home because of lack of internet access. So no, this is to be distributed where the need is.
Walker administration did like $20 million in the last biennial budget. This would be like 4 times that amount. Do you feel like the Walker administration was doing the right thing, but just not enough? Is this taking a step farther in your mind?
Well, the thing about that, again, the scale that exists, the need that exists, that $20 million just didn't address the problem at the scale. And $75 million, of course, probably still go even further than that. But this is the start. This is what we need to do to make sure that infrastructure is in place, so people, it shouldn't matter what area, what region of the state you live in, lack of internet access shouldn't be an issue.
The gas tax was one of those things that was a hot button issue during the election. Obviously, that's been put into the budget. And not so happy by Republicans. What are you going to be doing to work with Republicans to make that happen in that budget?
Well, the thing about that is that suggestion came out of the bipartisan task force that included legislators, that included representatives of different organizations who all came together. You look at a state like Ohio or Minnesota, Republican governor, Democrat governor, and they're proposing 20 cents a gallon, 18 cents a gallon, and 8 cents per gallon. That's a modest increase. So you look at the fluctuation of gas prices anyway throughout the season. And earlier last month, the speaker and the Senate Majority Leader talked about toll roads, which would be, one, wildly unpopular, two, the cost of implementation. It's money that could have gone straight to roads anyway. And aside from that, there was a workaround that would potentially bring gas prices down 14 cents. It's in the budget, and that is we look at minimum market for gasoline purchases. Gas prices could, in fact, be decreased by a net of 6 cents if things work out right. But 8 cents is a very modest increase in the gas tax. I think most people would agree, especially when you get to, you look at counties who are dealing with no option in sight to fix roads, and people who are dealing with the cost of repairs average of $250 per person, because you have to get your front end fixed on a car, you have to deal with other issues. 8 cents a gallon is something that most people can support.
Okay, so you mentioned 8 cents a gallon. Specifically here in Marathon County, people are already paying for wheel taxes, so they kind of feel like they pay a double tax as well. I guess what would you have to say?
Well, you triple tax if you count the amount of repairs that the amount of money that people spend on repairs to vehicles. So better roads means less of a need to spend money to repair a vehicle that has been damaged because crumbling infrastructure.
With the education proposals, that's something that really hasn't had a lot of people getting up in arms about, but I know the voucher program, the vouchers for private schools, that's the big thing in the education piece that is getting some opposition, at least strong opposition. Is there a need to pull money from is that the only way to get money into the K-12 public schools, or are there other options that you're willing to work with?
Yeah, and there are a few legislators who are benefiting from their existence because a lot of money gets spent on their campaigns. But I will say it's not even taking money; it's a freeze. It's a cap on enrollment because there are parallel, unequal systems at this point, and so it's something that has to be figured out in a very thoughtful way, and we can't continue to allow more students to continue to enroll in these schools, especially while there's been no evidence that shows that performance is better, that achievement is better, that students are faring more well in these private schools that are publicly funded.
Yeah, so obviously there's been quite a bit of opposition from the other side to the budget. When you have people like Speaker Voss saying that the budget is a liberal wish list. So what do you say to those on the other side to try and work together to get the budget passed?
Yeah, let me tell you about that too, because if you look at the Marquette poll that came out right after we took office, our priority issues show there was broad support show for our priority items. The only people in the way are people like Speaker Voss, who's playing a very obstructionist role. He also said that the governor was in a bubble, which is very ironic because they are in their own self-drawn gerrymander bubbles, which allows them to continue to legislate against the interests of the people. And that's what's continuing to happen. And it's a shame that, again, whether it's an issue like Medicaid expansion, overwhelmingly popular, redistricting reform, ironically, overwhelmingly popular, more money in public schools, overwhelmingly popular, yet you have a legislature that was popularly elected in the assembly with only 46% of the vote but got 63% of the seats. And that speaks to the way that they are attempting to continue to write the rules as they've written their own maps that are unequally distributed, and the way that they are attempting to govern reflects that.
Last budget. I'm sorry. Go
My
ahead.
last question, away from all the budget stuff. So, why was today so important for the kids and for you personally? And how does it affect the community?
Yeah. Today is great. Read Across America today. Read Across America Day. We're doing a player here in Wausau. I'm going to be in Milwaukee. Want to get to a few places across the state to show the importance of reading, and a lot of it, being able to go into a classroom. I think it's important for students of all ages, all parts of the state, to be able to experience, not just myself. The governor's going around to a number of schools. Some cabinet secretary designees are going around the state as well, because if we want to give students something to look forward to, or to look and see as an example. Work hard in school, read, pay attention, and one day it'll be them going around reading to different students in schools across the state or across the country.
Last question, if I could, real quick. Last budget passed like 2 months late when you have Walker and Republicans in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Now the governor's office is flipped. You still have Republicans. Does this budget have any shot of passing by June 30th?
I do think that the budget has a shot at passing. One, like I said, it is a popular budget. What we put into this budget, like I said, overwhelmingly supported by the people of the state of Wisconsin. The same cannot be said about the budget 2 years ago. And so you will see these legislators facing pressure at home in the district that they represent. What is the holdup with Medicaid expansion? What is the holdup with K-12 funding? What is the holdup with whatever issue that we're talking about? Why are we continuing to chase our tail in the state? And that will solely fall in the lap of the Republican legislators that choose or choose not to pass this budget.